for a little air-cooled build, I am really happy with how this one's come out. So obviously in the previous parts you've seen me make the side panel here and also paint the GPU to make it fit. But there's quite a few other mods that went into this that maybe aren't as visible that you saw in this video. So let's just take this off and I can talk you through them. So first up, I stripped the anodizing off the top of the Dark Rock Pro cooler and then gave it a brushed finish. Now I think that really kind of stands out. Whilst it's not pure white, it's a very light color, and I think the silver fits in with some of the other parts. Now I did the same treatment to the motherboard as well, so I've taken the heat sinks and I've stripped the anodizing off those. So they're now a really lovely silver. And one of the interesting things I found about these ones are because they've silk screened the logos onto the heat sinks themselves, when you strip the anodizing, actually that leaves that silk screening on there. And so you still get all the text and logos on the actual heatsinks themselves, but you've lost the anodizing around it. So I think it has quite a striking look, and I was really pleased with how the motherboard came out. Now I said I wanted to put the triangles all around the build, and I did that in a few different ways. So this first piece here, this big white piece, you may have wondered, where did that turn up from? Now that's actually a 3D printed piece that I designed earlier and I had printing over the course of the build video. Now the reason I didn't show that is because it's a really boring process. About the only thing that I can do with it is doing the time lapse of the actual process. And the problem there is because I don't have a camera that mounts directly to the bed of my printer yet, it's really jerky and it doesn't look very good. So I decided I'd leave that part of it out, and it really works very well. I love the vent pattern. I love the fact that it sits just behind the actual fans from the front of the case. And then I've also integrated the SSD mount into the floor of that to keep it all really clean and show that it's nice and visible. And I think that's a nice little aesthetic touch. And it hides all the cables really quite well from the SSD and keeps things nice and open. Now, obviously we've got these lovely mirror panels. I've got one down here and I've also got one on the top. And so these are made out of 5mm mirrored acrylic. And what I've done is I've engraved the same triangular pattern into the acrylic itself. So on the top we've got some LEDs which point inwards, and that hopefully lights up a little bit along with the triangles. And I really like how they sort of glisten and gleam in the lights, and when you move the camera and things, it really kind of brings out the shapes, and I'm a real big fan of them. So a lot of the things in this mod are very subtle. So you might think that many of them are stock. So for instance, these are actually stock Be Quiet cables, so you can buy these ones separately. And what I've done is I've made another matte black acrylic plate that goes on the inside here, and that's got individual cable pass-through holes, so that I've taken the cables outside of their normal cable clip, passed them through so that they're all individually laid out, and the ones for the GPU wrap around the back here and then down the back on the side, just to be completely out of the way. And I'm actually using one of these SATA cables, a bit like a cable comb, to keep them completely flat and out of the way. And I think that really adds a lot to the look of the case, because these are quite small and straggly. So if I'd done the usual thing of having them come around the front in like a ribbon, I think it might have looked a little bit awkward. And when I was trying things out, I wasn't a big fan. So I thought this is actually quite an interesting way of doing it. And if you have this kind of power supply and these thin cables, actually this looks really quite good. So you could do this for any other graphics card arrangement in your own PCs, and it's absolutely no extra effort. So I think that's quite an interesting way of doing things. Now, if this build tickled your fancy, make sure you stick around, because we've got some absolutely fantastic ones on the way that are going to be really exciting, using everything at my disposal, plus a few things that you've not seen before. So make sure you don't miss that, subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to check us out on Discord, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and builds.gg. I'll catch you next time, folks.